When your boyfriend buys diamond earrings and you don't have pierced ears, you have two choices: ignore it or destroy him. I believed in Marcus more than I believed in gravity. Gravity never lied to me. 10 years I gave him. 10 years of my savings, my dreams, my future. He gave me a receipt for a hotel room with another woman. The man I loved didn't just break my heart. He planned it, years before I ever saw it coming. My name is Jennifer Ann Butler. It was a story about love, and about how the people you love most in the world can poison you so slowly you don't even realize you're dying until it's too late. I was born in a small town in Ohio. Not the kind of small town where everyone leaves, but the kind where everyone stays. The kind where your grandmother's best friend is also your third-grade teacher, and the mailman knows your middle name. It was the kind of place that felt safe, wrapped in a blanket of familiarity. I met Marcus when I was 17 years old, a junior in high school. He was a senior. Tall, with sandy brown hair that fell across his forehead, and eyes that were the exact color of coffee when you add just a little cream. He played guitar and wrote songs that made the girls in the auditorium cry. He chose me. Out of all the girls in that room, he walked right past them and handed me his sweatshirt because I said I was cold. That sweatshirt smelled like cedar and laundry detergent and something else. Something I would later learn to call danger. We were together for 10 years, 10 years of my life given to Marcus Cole. We went to prom together. We went to college together, me at Ohio State and him at a smaller school just an hour away. We did long distance on weekends and summer breaks, and it never felt hard because I was so sure he was my future. My mother used to say I looked at him like he hung the moon. And he did. He hung it and painted the stars, and I spent a decade staring up at the sky he made for me. After graduation, I got a job at a marketing firm in Columbus. It wasn't my dream job. My dream was to be a painter. But my dad used to say that artists starve, and I didn't want to starve. I wanted a house with a yard and a white picket fence and 2 kids named after our grandparents. Marcus wanted to start a business. He had this idea for a tech startup, something to do with app development, and he needed a partner. He needed someone who believed in him. I believed in him more than I believed in gravity, so I gave him my savings. $23,000. Every penny I had saved since I was 14 years old, babysitting the neighbor kids, working at the ice cream shop, selling paintings at the county fair. I handed it over on a Tuesday night while we ate takeout Chinese food on his apartment floor. He held my face in his hands and promised me he would pay it back tenfold. He promised me we would be rich. He promised me we would be happy. We got engaged 6 months later. The ring was small, a tiny diamond set in rose gold. It wasn't flashy, but I loved it because it was from him. I loved it because when he slid it onto my finger, he said, "Now you're stuck with me forever." I didn't know then that forever was a lie. I didn't know that the man kneeling in front of me, tears in his coffee-colored eyes, was already planning his escape. The business took off. Slowly at first, then faster than either of us could keep up with. Marcus had a co-founder, a guy named Derek who he met at a networking event. Derek was sharp, calculated. He wore expensive suits and drove a car that cost more than my college tuition. I didn't like him. There was something about the way he looked at people, like he was measuring them, deciding how much they were worth. But Marcus trusted him. Marcus said Derek was the reason they got their first round of funding. So I swallowed my discomfort and smiled at company parties and pretended I didn't notice the way Derek's eyes lingered on me a beat too long. 3 years after the business launched, we were doing well enough to buy a house. Not a mansion, but a real house with a yard and a porch swing and a room I planned to turn into a nursery someday. Marcus wanted to wait on kids. He said the business needed him, that we had time, that we were young. I agreed because I always agreed. That was my first mistake. I made agreeing with him a habit. I made his dreams my dreams. I made his life my life. And somewhere along the way, I forgot who I was without him. The first crack appeared on a Sunday afternoon in October. I was cleaning out the spare bedroom, the one we called the office, even though Marcus never worked from home. He said he couldn't concentrate here, that the house was for relaxing. I was sorting through a box of old textbooks, deciding what to donate when I found it. A receipt. Not just any receipt. A receipt from a jewelry store in the city. The date was 3 months ago, and the item listed was not my engagement ring. It was a pair of diamond earrings, $4,000. I stared at that receipt for a long time. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, but I told myself there was an explanation. Maybe it was for his mother. Maybe it was a gift for his sister. Maybe he was planning a surprise for our anniversary. I folded the receipt and put it in my pocket. I didn't ask him about it. I was afraid of the answer. That was my second mistake. A month later, I found the earrings. Not in a box, not wrapped in tissue paper. They were in the glove compartment of his car. I was looking for the registration, and there they were, sparkling up at me like little traitors. I held them in my palm. They were beautiful. They were expensive. They were not for me. I knew this because my ears weren't pierced. I had always wanted to get them done, but I was scared of needles. Marcus knew this. He used to tease me about it gently, saying he liked my ears just the way they were. So the earrings weren't for me, and they weren't for his mother, because his mother had passed away 5 years ago. They weren't for his sister, because his sister lived in Seattle and he hadn't seen her in 2 years. I put the earrings back in the glove compartment. I closed the car door. I went inside and made dinner like nothing was wrong. That was my third mistake. I was collecting mistakes like seashells on a beach, filling my pockets with them until I could barely move. The wedding was 6 months away. I had already bought my dress. It was hanging in the back of my closet, a cloud of white tulle and lace, waiting for the day I would walk down the aisle toward the man I loved. But something had shifted. I couldn't name it. I just felt it, a cold spot in the warmth of our life together, like a draft from a window I couldn't find. I started paying attention. Little things. He was on his phone more, turning the screen away when I walked by. He worked late 3 nights a week, then 4, then 5. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped holding my hand in the car. He stopped looking at me like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. I told myself it was stress. The business was growing. He had investors to please, employees to manage, deadlines to meet. I told myself to be patient. I told myself to be understanding. I told myself that love meant giving someone space to breathe. I didn't realize he was using that space to run away from me. The betrayal came on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic Tuesday. Not raining or thundering or any of the things you see in movies. It was sunny, boring. I had taken the day off work because I wasn't feeling well. My stomach was upset, my head ached. I spent the morning on the couch, watching bad reality TV and drinking ginger ale. Around noon, I decided to make myself some toast. That's when I heard the garage door open. Marcus was home early. I felt a little flutter of happiness. Maybe he knew I was sick. Maybe he came home to take care of me. I smoothed my hair and walked toward the kitchen, ready to greet him. But he wasn't alone. I heard her voice before I saw her. Laughing, high and light like wind chimes, I stopped in the hallway. My toast was burning. I could smell it, but I couldn't move. Marcus and the woman came through the door from the garage. He was holding her hand. She was beautiful. Dark hair, dark eyes, skin that looked like it had never seen a pimple or a sleepless night. She was wearing a white blouse and tailored black pants and those earrings. The diamond earrings. They caught the light and threw tiny rainbows against the wall. Marcus saw me. His face went through a transformation I will never forget. Surprise, panic, and then something else. Something I had never seen before. Relief. He looked relieved, like he had been carrying a heavy weight and he was finally setting it down. "Jennifer," he said. His voice was flat. "I didn't think you'd be home." "Clearly," I said. My voice sounded strange, far away, like it belonged to someone else. The woman looked at me. She didn't look guilty. She looked curious, like I was a bug under glass. "You must be Jennifer," she said. "I'm Vanessa, Marcus's partner." I blinked. "I know Derek." "You're not Derek," she smiled. It was a small, cruel smile. "Not that kind of partner." The room tilted. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. Marcus was still holding her hand. He wasn't letting go. He wasn't rushing to explain. He wasn't telling her to leave, that this was all a mistake, that she meant nothing. He just stood there, holding her hand, looking at me like I was the one who had done something wrong. "How long?" I asked. Marcus looked at the floor. Vanessa answered for him. 2 years. 2 years, 24 months, 730 days. He had been with her for almost a quarter of our entire relationship. He had been with her while we picked out furniture for our house. while we tasted wedding cakes, while he held my face in his hands and promised to love me forever. He had been with her while I was depositing my paycheck into our joint account, while I was planning our honeymoon, while I was lying awake at night worrying that he was working too hard. I don't remember what happened next. I think I screamed. I think I threw something. I know I cried. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. And through it all, Marcus just stood there. He didn't try to comfort me. He didn't try to explain. He didn't even look at me. He looked at her. He looked at Vanessa like she was the sun and the moon and all the stars. I had spent 10 years looking at him that way, and he had never once looked back. Vanessa left, I don't know when. I just looked up and she was gone, and it was just me and Marcus in the kitchen, standing on opposite sides of the room like boxers in a ring. The toast was still in the toaster, black and smoking. I turned it off. I don't know why. Some habits are impossible to break. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. 2 words, 2 useless words that changed nothing. "Sorry for what?" I asked. "Sorry you got caught. Sorry you wasted 10 years of my life. Sorry you stole my money and my trust and my future." He flinched. "I didn't steal your money. I paid you back. $23,000. You gave me $23,000 and called it even. Do you know what that money was worth? Do you know how many hours I worked? How many paintings I didn't sell because I was too busy supporting you? I didn't ask you to give me that money. You offered." That was when I realized. He wasn't sorry. He was justifying. He was rewriting history in his head, turning himself into the victim, turning my generosity into a burden he never asked for. I looked at this man I had loved for 10 years and I didn't recognize him. He was a stranger wearing Marcus's face. "Get out," I said. "Jennifer, please, we need to talk about this. Get out of my house. It's my house too." "Not anymore." He left. I watched his car pull out of the driveway and I waited for the tears to come. They didn't. I was empty, hollow, like someone had reached inside me and scooped out everything I was. I walked through the house, room by room. Everything I saw was a lie. The engagement ring on my finger, the wedding dress in the closet, the porch swing where we drank coffee on Sunday mornings. All of it was built on a foundation of sand, and now the tide had come in and washed it all away. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor of the nursery that wasn't a nursery yet, and I thought about the last 10 years. I thought about all the times I had put his needs before mine. I thought about the job I didn't take because it required relocation. I thought about the paintings I didn't paint because he said I should focus on my career. I thought about the children I didn't have because he wasn't ready. I had given him everything, and he had given me nothing. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia. She was in her 60s, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and tapped her pen against her desk. "How much do you know about his business?" she asked. "Not much," I admitted. "I know it's successful. I know they got a big investment last year. Do you have any documentation? Emails, financial records, anything that shows your contribution?" I thought about the receipt, the earrings, the glove compartment. "I have some things." "Get them. Every paper, every email, every text message. Don't tell him you're doing it. Don't confront him again. Just gather evidence." "Evidence for what?" Patricia looked at me. Her expression softened just slightly. "For the war, sweetheart. He just declared it. You didn't know, but now you do." I spent the next week becoming someone I didn't recognize. I became quiet, methodical. I smiled at Marcus when he called to check in. I told him I needed space, but that I still loved him. I let him believe I was forgiving him. It was the hardest acting I have ever done. Every time I heard his voice, I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I smiled, I said the right things, and I gathered evidence. What I found was worse than I imagined. Marcus and Vanessa weren't just having an affair. They were building a life together. Emails about houses they were looking at, texts about vacations they were planning, a shared calendar with dates marked for weekends away, and financial records. I found financial records that made my blood run cold. Marcus had been funneling money from the business into a separate account, an account I didn't know existed, an account with Vanessa's name on it, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Money that belonged to the company I had helped fund, money that belonged to me. I took everything to Patricia. She laid the documents across her desk like a card dealer at a casino. "This is good," she said. "This is very good. "What can I do?" She smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We can destroy him." The next few months were a blur of legal filings and depositions. Marcus tried to fight it. He hired a high-priced lawyer and denied everything. He claimed I was a bitter ex-fiancé trying to ruin him. He claimed the money in Vanessa's account was a loan. He claimed he had never promised to pay me back for my investment. But Patricia was better. Patricia was smarter. She had decades of experience and a stack of evidence that proved Marcus was a liar and a thief. The case settled out of court. I walked away with $700,000, half of the business, full ownership of the house, and a restraining order against Vanessa, who had taken to showing up at my grocery store, my gym, my favorite coffee shop. The settlement was supposed to be the end. I was supposed to feel victorious. Instead, I felt nothing. I had won the battle, but I had lost 10 years of my life. I had lost the future I thought I was building. I had lost the ability to trust anyone. I moved on, or tried to. I sold the house. I couldn't live there anymore, surrounded by memories that were all lies. I bought a small apartment in the city and I tried to rebuild myself. I painted again. Landscapes mostly, empty fields and lonely roads. I sold a few pieces at local galleries. I made friends, cautiously, keeping them at arm's length. I went on dates. Nice men who held doors open for me and asked about my day, but I couldn't feel anything for them. Every time I looked at a man, I saw Marcus. I saw the face of someone who smiled at me while he was stabbing me in the back. A year passed. Then 2. I heard through mutual friends that Marcus and Vanessa were engaged. Then that they were married. Then that the business was struggling. Derek had left to start his own company and taken half the clients with him. Marcus was drowning. I should have felt satisfied. I didn't. I just felt tired. I met Daniel at a gallery opening. He was tall and quiet, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He sold insurance, which was the most boring job I had ever heard of, but he was passionate about it in a way that was almost charming. He didn't try to impress me with grand gestures. He didn't promise me the moon. He just showed up, consistently, reliably. He brought me coffee when I was working late. He listened when I talked about my art. He never pushed for more than I was willing to give. Slowly, carefully, I started to trust him. I told him about Marcus, not everything, but enough. He didn't push for details. He just held my hand and said, "That must have been very hard." It was the first time anyone had acknowledged that without trying to fix me. We moved in together after a year. It was terrifying. Sharing space, sharing a life. Every time Daniel was late coming home, my stomach clenched. Every time his phone buzzed with a text message, I felt a spike of anxiety. But he was patient. He left his phone face up on the table. He told me where he was going and when he would be back. He didn't hide anything. And slowly, the fear began to fade. I thought I was healed. I thought I had put the past behind me. I thought Marcus Cole was nothing more than a scar on my heart, a reminder of what I had survived. I was wrong. It started with an email. I was at work, sorting through my inbox when I saw a name I didn't recognize. Vanessa Cole. She had taken his last name. Of course she had. My thumb hovered over the delete button. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to let her back into my life. But curiosity is a powerful thing. I opened the email. It was short. Cold. She told me that Marcus was dying. Cancer. Stage 4. He had maybe 6 months. She said he wanted to see me. He wanted to apologize in person before he died. She gave me the name of the hospital and his room number. She said he asked for me every day. I stared at the screen for a long time. My first thought was relief. He was dying. The man who had destroyed me was finally facing consequences. My second thought was guilt. What kind of person feels relief at someone else's suffering? My third thought was confusion. Why did he want to see me? What could he possibly say after all this time? I didn't reply. I closed the email and tried to forget it. But I couldn't. It sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. I told Daniel about it that night. He listened without interrupting, his face carefully neutral. "You don't have to go," he said. "You don't owe him anything." "I know, but you're going to go anyway." I nodded. "I need to hear what he has to say. Not for him, for me. I need closure." Daniel squeezed my hand. "Then I'll go with you." I went alone. I didn't know why. I just knew this was something I had to face by myself. The hospital was large and impersonal, all white walls and antiseptic smell. I gave Marcus's name at the front desk, and they directed me to the oncology ward. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweating. I had to stop twice to catch my breath. When I finally reached his room, I stood outside the door for a full minute, unable to move. He looked old. That was my first thought. He was only 33, but the cancer had aged him decades. His skin was gray. His hair was thin, patchy from chemotherapy. He was lying in the bed with his eyes closed, and for a moment I thought he was already gone. Then he opened his eyes. They were the same color, coffee with cream, and they filled with tears when he saw me. "Jennifer," he whispered, "you came." I didn't move from the doorway. "Vanessa said you wanted to see me. I didn't think you would come. I wouldn't have blamed you if you didn't." I said nothing. The silence stretched between us, heavy and uncomfortable. He shifted in the bed, wincing with pain. "I'm dying," he said. "I know. I'm scared." I didn't respond. I didn't know what he wanted from me. Comfort? Forgiveness? Absolution. I had nothing left to give him. "I made so many mistakes," he said. His voice was thin, reedy. "I was young and stupid, and I thought I had all the time in the world to fix things. And now I don't. Now I'm running out of time and I can't fix anything. You can't fix what you did to me." I know that. I'm not asking you to forget. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I was wrong. I took you for granted. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me, and I've regretted it every day since you walked out that door. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that he had spent the last 3 years tormented by guilt, that he had suffered as much as I had. But I looked at his face, and I saw the same man who had stood in my kitchen holding another woman's hand. I saw the same man who had stolen my money and my trust and my future. I saw the same man who had smiled at me while he was betraying me. "I have to go," I said. "Wait, please, there's something else." I stopped. He was struggling to sit up, his thin arms trembling with the effort. He reached for something on the nightstand, a small box. He held it out to me. "I kept this," he said. "All these years, I couldn't throw it away." I took the box. It was velvet, worn at the edges. I opened it. Inside was my engagement ring, the small diamond, the rose gold band. I had given it back to him when we settled the lawsuit. I hadn't wanted it anymore, but he had kept it. "Why?" I asked. "Because it was the only honest thing I ever gave you." I closed the box. I put it in my pocket. I didn't know why. Some habits are impossible to break. "Goodbye, Marcus." "Jennifer, I loved you." I did. I just didn't know how to show it. I looked at him one last time. "No, you didn't." I left the hospital and walked to my car. I sat in the driver's seat with my hands on the steering wheel and I cried. Not for him. Not for what we had lost. I cried for the girl I used to be, the girl who believed in love so completely that she gave away everything she had. I cried for the 10 years I would never get back. I cried until there was nothing left. Marcus died 3 weeks later. I saw the obituary online. Survived by his wife, Vanessa, no mention of me. I wasn't surprised. I had been erased from his story. But he wasn't erased from mine. I still carried him with me, a weight I couldn't set down. I thought closure would come with his death. It didn't. I was still angry, still hurt, still waiting for something I couldn't name. Daniel was patient. He held me when I woke up crying from dreams I couldn't remember. He didn't push me to talk about it. He just stayed, steady, reliable, everything Marcus wasn't. I started to think that maybe I could be happy again. Maybe the worst was behind me. I was wrong. It happened on a Saturday. Daniel was at a work conference. I was home alone, cleaning out the spare bedroom we used for storage. I found a box of old journals dating back to my college years. I sat on the floor and flipped through them, cringing at the melodrama of my younger self. And then I found it. A photograph tucked between the pages. I didn't remember putting it there. It was a picture of Marcus and me at a party, our arms around each other, both of us laughing. I stared at it for a long time. He looked so happy. We both did. It was hard to reconcile that smiling face with the man who had destroyed me. I turned the photograph over. There was writing on the back, not mine, Marcus's handwriting. I recognized the messy scrawl. It said, J&M forever. 9/15/12. Forever, what a joke. I started to tear the photograph in half, and then I stopped, because something was nagging at me. September 15, 2012. That date, it was familiar, but I couldn't place it. I went to my computer and opened my email archive. I searched for emails from that month, and I found it. An email from Marcus, sent on September 16, 2012. The subject line was "Last night." I opened it. The email was short. He said he had a wonderful time at the party. He said he loved me. He said he couldn't wait to spend the rest of his life with me. It was sweet, romantic. It was also a lie, because I kept digging. I found text messages. I found calendar entries. I found a receipt from a hotel downtown, dated September 15, 2012. A hotel that cost $300 a night. A hotel where Marcus had checked in at 10 p.m. with Vanessa. The affair hadn't started 2 years ago. It had started 5 years ago. It had started before Marcus and I got engaged. It had started before he took my money, before we bought the house, before every milestone I thought we had reached together. Our entire relationship was a lie. Every kiss, every promise, every "I love you" was just him playing a role. I wasn't his fiancé. I wasn't his partner. I was his backup plan, his insurance policy, his safety net. I don't know how long I sat there. Hours. The sun went down. The room got dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat in the darkness, holding the photograph, feeling my heart crack into pieces I didn't think could ever be put back together. Daniel came home. He found me on the floor. He knelt beside me and asked what was wrong. I couldn't speak. I just handed him the photograph. He read the back. He looked at the computer screen. He didn't say anything. He just held me while I shook. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want to hurt him," I whispered, "but he's already dead." Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "He's not the only one who betrayed you." I looked up. "What do you mean?" His face was pale. His hands were trembling. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you say anything." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Daniel, what are you talking about?" "I wasn't at a conference today. I was meeting someone, a woman. Her name is Chloe." The world stopped. I pulled away from him. I stood up. My legs were shaking. "You're cheating on me?" "No. Not like that. I never touched her. I never even wanted to, but I lied to you about how we met." "What are you talking about?" "We met at a gallery opening." "No, that was arranged. I was hired to meet you." I stared at him. The words didn't make sense. They were just sounds, strung together in an order that didn't compute. "Hired? By who?" "Marcus." I think I laughed. I think I made a sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a scream. "Marcus is dead. He hired me 3 years ago, before you filed the lawsuit. He was afraid you were going to destroy him. He wanted to distract you, keep you occupied so you wouldn't dig too deep. He paid me to be your friend. To gain your trust, to report back to him." "Report back? Report what?" "Everything, where you went, who you talked to, what you were planning. He wanted to know if you were seeing anyone, if you were moving on, if you were still a threat." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The man I loved, the man I trusted, the man I thought had healed me. He was a plant, a mole, a weapon Marcus had aimed at me from beyond the grave. "How much did he pay you?" "It doesn't matter. I don't want the money. I haven't taken it in over a year. I stopped reporting to him when he got sick. I never even told him about the lawsuit settlement. I just kept seeing you because I wanted to. Because I fell in love with you." "Love," my voice cracked. "You don't even know me. Everything you know about me was gathered as intelligence for my enemy." "That's not true. The first few months, yes, I was doing a job. But then something changed. I started to see you, not as a target. As a person, I saw how hard you were trying to rebuild your life. I saw how much pain you were in, and I wanted to help you, not because Marcus was paying me. Because I cared about you. You lied to me every single day for 3 years. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you if you'll let me. But I need you to know that everything I've felt for you is real. The coffee I brought you, the walks we took, the nights we stayed up talking. That was me, not Marcus, me." I couldn't look at him. I couldn't be in the same room with him. I walked out of the apartment and I didn't look back. I walked for hours. Through the city streets, past the coffee shop where we had our first date, past the park where we fed ducks on Sunday afternoons, past the gallery where he told me he loved me for the first time. Everything was tainted. Every memory was poisoned. I had been betrayed twice by the same man, once from the grave. I ended up at a hotel. I paid cash for a room and I sat on the bed and I stared at the wall. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there empty, hollow, the way I had felt the day I found Marcus in my kitchen with Vanessa, except this was worse. This was a betrayal I had invited into my life willingly. I had trusted Daniel. I had opened my heart to him, and he had been reporting my every move to the man who destroyed me. The next morning, I called Patricia. She was retired now, but she agreed to meet me. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and let out a long, slow breath. "He's still alive," she said. "Who?" "Derek, Marcus's business partner. He left the company a few years ago. Started his own firm. He's very successful now." "What does Derek have to do with this?" Patricia smiled. It was the same smile she had given me 3 years ago when she said we could destroy Marcus. Derek was the one who introduced Marcus to Vanessa. Derek was the one who helped Marcus hide the money. Derek knew everything, and Derek has never liked being in anyone's shadow. "I don't understand. Marcus is dead. But his legacy isn't. The business is still operating. Vanessa is running it now. And she's been using the same tactics Marcus used, funneling money, hiding assets, lying to investors. All of it is documented. All of it is illegal. And Derek has the proof. Why would Derek help me? Because he wants the business. He always wanted it. Marcus took it from him. Now Vanessa has it. If you help Derek take it back, he'll give you something you want." "What do I want?" "Revenge. Complete and total. Not against Marcus. He's beyond your reach. But against Vanessa. Against the woman who wore your earrings and married your fiancé and profited from your pain." I thought about it. I thought about Vanessa's cruel smile. I thought about the diamond earrings in Marcus's glove compartment. I thought about the email she sent me, dripping with false sympathy. She had known about Daniel. She had known about Marcus's plan to distract me. She had probably helped him orchestrate it. She had been laughing at me this whole time. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." The plan was simple. Derek would provide the evidence. I would provide the face. Vanessa didn't know me. She didn't know what I was capable of. She thought I was the pathetic ex-fiancé who cried in kitchens. She had no idea that I had spent 3 years learning to fight. I got a job at Vanessa's company, not under my real name. I used my mother's maiden name, Jennifer Walsh. I applied for a mid-level marketing position and I aced the interview. I was smart, professional, eager to please. Vanessa interviewed me herself. She didn't recognize me. Why would she? I had changed. My hair was shorter, my style was sharper. I wore contacts instead of glasses. I smiled and nodded and told her how much I admired her work. I worked at that company for 6 months. 6 months of smiling at the woman who had destroyed my life. 6 months of listening to her complain about her husband's death, her voice dripping with fake grief. 6 months of gathering evidence. Patricia and Derek guided me from the shadows. They told me what to look for, who to talk to, which files to copy. I became a ghost in the machine, invisible and deadly. Vanessa never suspected. Why would she? I was just another employee. I brought her coffee. I stayed late to help with presentations. I laughed at her jokes. I was everything she wanted in a subordinate. She had no idea that I was documenting every illegal transaction, every hidden account, every lie she told to investors. She had no idea that I was building a case against her that would destroy everything she had built. The day of the raid, I was in my office. I heard the commotion before I saw it. Raised voices, the sound of heavy footsteps. I walked out into the hall and saw FBI agents flooding through the front door. Vanessa was standing in the middle of it all, her face white, her diamond earrings catching the light. She saw me. Our eyes met. And for the first time, I saw fear in her face. "Jennifer," she whispered. I didn't respond. I just turned and walked away. I had done what I came to do. The rest was up to the lawyers. The investigation took a year. Vanessa fought it with everything she had, but the evidence was overwhelming. She was convicted of fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. She was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. The business was seized. The assets were frozen. Everything Marcus and Vanessa had built together crumbled to dust. I watched it happen from the gallery of the courtroom. Vanessa didn't look at me. She didn't cry. She just stared straight ahead as the judge read her sentence. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel relief. I just felt tired. Derek got the business. He deserved it, I suppose. He had helped me and I had helped him. We were even. I walked away with nothing. No money, no property. Just the knowledge that I had finally closed the door on that chapter of my life. Daniel found me 6 months later. I was living in a small town in Ohio, not far from where I grew up. I had rented a tiny house with a yard and a porch swing. I was painting again, landscapes mostly. I sold them at the local farmer's market. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was mine. He knocked on my door on a Sunday afternoon. I opened it and there he was. Older, thinner, dark circles under his eyes. He looked at me like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," he said. "I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, for everything, and that I've spent the last year trying to become someone worthy of the time you gave me." I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, the man who had lied to me, the man who had betrayed me, the man I had loved, the man I still loved despite everything. "I'm seeing a therapist," he said. "I'm working on myself. I'm trying to understand why I made the choices I made. I'm not asking you to take me back. I just wanted you to know that you saved me. Meeting you, knowing you, loving you. It changed me. I'm not the same person I was." "People don't change," I said. "Marcus didn't change. He died the same man he always was." "I'm not Marcus." "No, you're not. You're someone who lied to me every day for 3 years." "I know. And I will carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But I'm not asking you to carry it with me. I'm just asking you to believe that I'm trying to be better." I looked at him. The porch swing creaked in the wind. Somewhere, a dog barked. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was the most beautiful thing I had seen in a long time. "I don't know if I can trust you," I said. I don't know if I can ever trust anyone again. I know, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone." He didn't say anything. He just waited, patient, steady, the way he always was. The way he had been from the beginning, even when the beginning was a lie. "I'm not ready," I said. "I don't know if I'll ever be ready, but you can stay for dinner, if you want." He smiled. It was the same smile I had fallen in love with 3 years ago. "I want." We sat on the porch swing and watched the sun go down. We didn't talk about Marcus. We didn't talk about Vanessa. We didn't talk about the past. We just sat together, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. It wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't an ending at all. It was just another beginning. Another chance, another risk. I had spent so many years being afraid of getting hurt again. But sitting there, watching the stars come out one by one, I realized something. The pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part was closing myself off from the possibility of joy. The worst part was letting Marcus win, even after he was gone. I don't know what will happen with Daniel. I don't know if we'll make it. Trust takes time to rebuild. Some cracks never fully heal. But I'm willing to try, not because I'm naive, not because I believe in fairy tales, but because I believe in myself. I survived the worst betrayal imaginable, and I came out the other side. I'm stronger than I used to be. I'm wiser. I know that love isn't about giving someone everything and hoping they don't break it. Love is about choosing every day to show up and try, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So this is my story, not a story of revenge, not a story of forgiveness, just a story of survival. I'm Jennifer Ann Butler. I was betrayed by the man I loved. I was betrayed by the man I thought healed me. I lost 10 years of my life to a lie, but I'm still here, I'm still painting, I'm still hoping, I'm still trying. And that's the truth.